Hello and welcome to the 50th episode of Inherited Will, a One Piece podcast, a weekly podcast discussing each week's manga chapter and a reread of past chapters. My name is Thomas.
And my name is Jordan.
Now I know what you're thinking. 50th episode. Surely they've got something special planned. But, and this may surprise you, didn't realize this was the 50th episode until about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, same.
So, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, look forward to episode 100, though, for sure. For sure something special coming there.
Yep.
We do actually have a comment to read this week. From our episode on chapter 1044. As a reminder, this was the Nika equals Gum Gum reveal chapter.
Perfect.
Stime Time says, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only one who was not thrilled about this chapter. One of my biggest gripes was the Gorosei never went after Luffy, the guy who keeps shouting Gomu Gomu before his attacks. If the world government didn't have some sort of database on devil fruit users, waiting for the keyword rubber to appear in some Marine's report, then it brings me no joy to report that the world government is less capable of running the world than the people who run the One Piece wiki."
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was rough out there, and it still is.
Yes. I think our opinions on that chapter remain well documented in the episode in question. Stime Time does an excellent job of summing up that particular issue, though.
Oh boy, yeah.
With all that covered, though, we'll be jumping in, but before we get started, I'd like to ask you at home to leave a review, a like, etc. Share us around. We'd appreciate it. Then we'll be jumping right on into 1047, then later chapters 570 through 579.
Oda did us a favor here with this one. It's nice. I think my favorite part is Zoro.
Holding up a hot dog to Momo?
Well, in my headcanon, this is how do I explain this? Sanji obviously is not feeding him. So in his head, him picking the hot dog up off of the grill counts as like a big achievement in the cooking world. So he's standing there very proud of himself with the hot dog held high because he's sustaining himself right now. And that's a big move. So yeah. Momo's coming in to steal it, obviously. Like, Zoro's not looking at Momo, you know?
I suppose that's true. Your explanation is the only canon I accept.
Thank you.
I think my favorite part is the little palm tree in the O for One Piece.
Wow, subtle. I like it.
Yeah, it's very cute.
Yeah.
And there's Brook there, unconscious, getting a tan.
For sure.
Yeah, trying his best to, at least.
He and Jinbei just kind of chilling. I dig it.
Mm-hmm. Having a nice nap. And I suppose that takes us into the chapter 1047, The Sky Over the Capital.
Bring it on.
Starting off strong, going almost immediately into a flashback. Yamato really wants Momonosuke to sort out this flame-clad situation, but apparently it's hard, man. It's rough out there.
Yeah, well, he's never done it before. What do you expect?
Indeed. Like I said, though, pop into a relatively brief flashback to just before they time travel. Toki here wants him to go. He doesn't want to, and that's pretty much where it ends.
Yeah, he's inspired by Kinemon and pushes forward. He obviously is reluctant about this, but he goes.
Yeah, this poor kid is snotting all over the place. But yeah, Kinemon wants them to go forth and allow them to die as samurai. And that inspires him to get his heckin' nap together and go forth and make his mom proud. Fortunately, in the present, he's doing a poor job of that. But I'm sure he'll sort it out before all is said and done.
Yeah, he's got the motivation now. It'll all work out.
Indeed. Quite so. Excuse me. Back at the fight, though. Last we saw Luffy, he had just seized a lightning bolt from the heavens. We were freaking out at the time that might be like the end of this fight or something. Fortunately, it goes nowhere. He misses and gets bopped in a big way by Kaido.
Sure heckin' does.
Gum Gum Lightning, not Luffy's most efficient technique, it turns out.
No, but interestingly, he does, like, alter the lightning.
When you say alter it, what do you mean?
I think that this... I mean, it has a more, like, defined and repeating pattern once Luffy gets a hold on it compared to the other lightning bolts that we have seen.
I suppose that's true. Maybe that's just a natural effect of a lightning bolt being thrown.
Yeah, no one can really say.
We've never seen it before. Yeah.
But even compared to the other lightning on this same page, like, the outline is thicker on it, it's rougher, and like I said, the repeating pattern at least stands out to me. But it's just, I don't know, maybe that's nitpicking, but I found it weird.
Agreed. Such is the way of nature.
Yes.
Luffy gets bopped immediately after tossing it, though. Poor him. Luckily, depending on how you... Well, it's lucky depending on whether or not you ignore, like, almost the next panel. But he grabs onto another bolt of lightning, spins around it, launches himself back at Kaido, but merely gets slammed in the face again.
Yeah, you can tell that he was setting something up here, but it doesn't work out for him, actually.
Mm-mm. You see in the panel that where he gets slammed, he threw a kick at Kaido's previous location, but alas, Kaido's not there anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, it would have been, well, yeah, I can't really tell what the bubble in him is doing there. Like, you would think that he would make it big where he was hitting, but it doesn't look like it quite got there.
Yeah, it does look like that's the intent. He's trying to move the air down to his foot. But Kaido, well, my instinct is to say, but Kaido moved before he could do it. But his foot has already gone through where Kaido was.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Maybe he was planning on stabbing his foot through Kaido, like he did with his fist a couple chapters ago, and then send the air through the leg to make Kaido's head inflate from the inside. There we go.
Sure, that works for me.
This is the only canon I'll accept at this point.
Yeah. It's a good one, so we'll keep it.
We get, I guess, hard confirmation to something I was pretty much convinced of for many years, but apparently Kaido indeed didn't have any devil fruit powers.
You just said Kaido.
And that's who I meant. He's the one talking up hockey, so clearly that means this is just his natural form.
Of course, and the shape-shifting is just the way that Kaidos hunt.
Yeah. Not in ancient times.
No.
Only in the present.
Right now.
Ancient Kaidos were very different.
Yeah, we'll get into that in episode 100.
But yeah, misspoke. It is in fact Roger who didn't have any fruit powers. Surprising, probably nobody, but nice to have it confirmed, I guess.
Sure, yeah. I'm glad that he didn't say, like, yeah, Roger did some weird stuff too. Like, that would have been extremely disappointing.
Indeed. I mean, people have suspected for a long time. I've always thought these people were wrong, but people have had the theory in their head that Roger also had the Gomu Gomu fruit.
Well, of course people would think that. Like,
indeed.
But that's, like, too obvious of a parallel for our boy Oda.
Agreed. I mean, I'm not entirely sure that Oda's above that anymore, but I'm glad to see it's not true.
That's a fair point.
Indeed. Kaido slams Luffy into a rubbery floor, but Luffy simply bounces back up, only to get slammed again
Yeah, Kaido's no schmuck. He's learning in this battle just as Luffy is. So
Indeed, he's really getting his butt handed to him. Poor guy. It's rough out there. I do appreciate that Luffy made an effort to block this one, though. That's pretty good.
yeah, pulls out the hockey.
Good on him. Doesn't help him. Still gets slammed in a big way. Even got a bump on his head.
Yeah, this one looks painful.
I would have liked it if, since Luffy is upside down in this panel where you see him having just got smacked with a bump on his head, if the birds were also upside down.
Yeah, it would have been a nice little detail.
But can't have these like cartoon birds having their blood rush to their head. So
that sounds dangerous. Yeah.
In the interest of bird safety, I will allow this.
Are you gonna allow what happens to Kaido next?
You mean him getting grabbed?
Grabbed and then like having his flesh almost like pulled off of him.
Well, in Luffy's defense, Kaido has this coming. For
sure. It just, oh boy. I guess, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe stuff like that happens more often, but I would assume that that's still him making him more rubbery.
I also assume that to be true.
But, like, again, I don't see how that helps. Like, it has to be, well, it doesn't have to be, but it could be happening almost accidentally on Luffy's part, which I would find pretty neat.
Agreed. Kind of seems like maybe a few times this applying rubber to other things thing might have been accidental. Because in the previous page, I don't see how Luffy benefits from the rubber being, or the ground below him having been turned to rubber. It's still like rock. It's just rubbery rock. So it probably still hurts. And then he's not prepared for a counterattack when he bounces back up.
Right. If he would have been prepping an attack of his own, sure. But like, I don't know that blunt force really does much to our boy anyway. So like, right. Yeah, I would just take the floor.
Right. And even says, "Whoa," in that's panel.
Oh, that's true.
He's surprised.
Yeah. Okay. Confirmed.
So I guess he doesn't yet have full control over this, which makes sense, considering he unlocked it 5 minutes ago.
Right, so. But like that's still kind of contradictory to the description that we got. Like, if he's able to fight how he pleases, then why are things backfiring? Like, why aren't things going his way? Something about this is weird.
Certainly something screwy is going on. But not as screwy. Is Kaido's face changing all the time. So it's backfiring on both sides.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Sometimes his nose is bulbous and his teeth are all weird. Other times it's skinny and his teeth just have some fangs. What's up with that, Kaido?
It's just so that the original sketch of Kaido can be more in canon.
I'm sure that's true. Classic Oda, trying to always loop it back to the beginning. Well done.
The man has plans within plans.
Oh yes, that's definitely true. Kaido, though, regardless of how we feel about it, he's not pleased that he's been nabbed by Luffy from above. He tries his best to remove Luffy's sticky fingers. Tries a couple things. He slams his arm with a club, still doesn't let go, transforms back into the dragon form and launches some cutting attacks. Still no good. He's holding on tight. Jesus.
Yeah, these ones, finally, Kaido has, like, an actually good plan. Like, his spiky club hasn't been doing anything to the guy, and it took him this long to be like, no, yeah, I should cut him. Like, what?
I suppose that's true. I mean, for sure, that is a little bit weird, but, like, with the hockey of it all, he's definitely been dealing considerable damage.
For sure, but, like, I mean, to me, Kaido has seemed like the kind of guy where if he knows someone's weakness, he's gonna exploit it to no end. Like, I don't know.
Sure. Up until now, it hasn't really felt as though he's, like, needed to resort to that. He's been doing just fine with his more traditional methods.
That's true. That's fair. Okay.
Then we take a hot second to check in with the people of the capital. Still having a great time. They've finally gotten to the sending off the boat balloon part of the festival. They're all hyped up. All right, the festival's coming to an end. Tomorrow we're going to be slaves again, but for now, sure do hope I get to live for another year.
Time to party hard.
Indeed. Oh boy, what lofty dreams the people of Wano have.
Yeah, such a fun little place to live.
And they're all like genuinely overjoyed at this like brief moment of respite they get once a year.
When it's all you have, yeah.
Balloons going to the sky. Otoko having a lovely time. Tenku guy smiling, but he knows what's actually going on. He's not up to date with the current affairs, of course, but he knows there is a war being fought right this second.
Yeah, that's got to be a weird position to be in, huh?
Indeed. Gotta pretend as though you're having a jolly time, not stressing while you're showing the little girl around. Who is also probably like crying inside because her dad died like yesterday.
She does say, "Find the way to Daddy" to the lanterns. So yeah, definitely still thinking about it.
Poor Otoko.
Yeah.
Then we pop back up to Kaido again for a second. He launches his 1 millionth blast breath of the fight. Scorches Luffy in a big way. He's not smiling anymore. I'll note. That's a big time frown.
Yeah.
On my man Luff. Then we're back inside for a little bit to check in with the Warriors of Wano.
I really liked this this exchange.
Me too. It really like embodies the samurai spirit that we've been shown so far. At first they're like, oh no, we're gonna die because Onigashima's gonna fall in a hot second. But like, well, that means that Kaido's defeated. So if we all fall to our deaths, that's victory. But if we survive, that's a Kaido win.
And they don't dwell on it. Like, they all pretty much think of how their small pretty big sacrifice, actually, will lead to happier times for people that they care about. And that's just great.
They're all genuinely pleased about that. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, makes kind of shows more of, I don't know if there was really much of a question to this, but more of why Hyogoro has like all of this respect, because he's the one that starts it all off. He's the catalyst here. So like, yay.
For sure. Kid, judging from his face, feels differently.
Oh yeah, he doesn't want to die.
Indeed. He doesn't have as much of a personal stake in Kaido being defeated. He wants Kaido to go down for like the street cred, and he wants to live, of course. But Kaido going down does not help him in any personal way like it does with the samurai. So not quite as invested in his defeat, I suppose.
Not yet.
Not if it means he's dying. That's for sure.
Yeah. He has his limits.
Quite.
Just like Usopp.
Yeah.
Not Hamlet, though. Hamlet has no limits.
Yeah. Truly the invincible man, Hamlet of the giraffe pants. Not really sure why we checked in with Usopp, aside from maybe a hot second of comic relief that I don't really think we needed. But that also isn't the first time that Usopp's gonna live no matter what mentality has been contrasted with the samurai's honorable death business.
Yeah,
so,
it's a recurring thing now.
I wonder if something more is going to happen with that.
But like what?
I haven't got a clue. But this is the second time this has happened.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's got to be heading towards something.
Usopp's gonna die.
For sure. And it's not going to be noble.
Nope, just gonna happen.
Indeed. He'll drown right now. So in a sense, Jinbei and Raizo will be the ones killing Usopp.
Nice.
Great. As it was foretold many years ago. On the flip side, though, of that happy moment of Usopp dying.
Mm-hmm.
Orochi's still alive. And doing better than he kind of has been throughout this conflict, because the sea stone nail has fallen out of his body. Wherever it was, it's not there anymore.
Correct.
Orochi does seem to think he's also going to die here. He says things like, I'm going to take you down with me, taking your precious daughter to hell with me. And I guess Hiyori did not account for this scenario because she looks pretty spooked by the whole thing.
Should have had a second nail.
Yeah. I sure hope this does not turn into a situation where Denjiro simply swoops in, deals the final blow, and saves her. I'm rather attached to the idea of Hiyori killing this man, but Denjiro's got to do something eventually.
You keep saying that.
I'm going to say it until the fight is over and I'm proven wrong. Which, got to hold on to that dream, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this one feels more like it to me than many of the others that you've pointed out, but like, I'm with you. I think him taking out Orochi would just be awful.
I mean, I wouldn't call it awful. Denjiro's got as much of a beef with Orochi as any of the Scabbards, but not as much as Hiyori has.
Well, yeah, and that's already been built up. Like,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be bonkers to me.
Indeed. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe Hiyori also has... Well, she doesn't have a sword. She gave it... I mean, she maybe has a different sword, but she gave her special sword to Zoro. So we'll see what happens with that, I guess. Maybe there's a second Enma. Enma 2.
Yep.
Chuma.
There's a sword in the instrument she's been playing.
I would believe that.
Yep.
Then we pop back outside for another hot second. Luffy's got some words for Big Man Momonosuke. Apparently, it is Luffy's plan to create the biggest fist that anyone has ever had in any form of media.
Yeah.
Punch Kaido with it, and also punched through Onigashima too. But he doesn't want to do that second bit if it can be avoided, so Momo's gotta move the island, like, now, apparently.
Yeah, I don't see how you stop a fist of this size.
Kaido's pretty big, but not that big.
This fist is basically the size of Onigashima. Maybe half of it, which is still daunting.
Indeed. So that's pretty wild. The way Luffy says, I'm going to put an end to all of this, makes it sound as though this is going to be his final attack of the fight, which, if true, would be pretty weird based on what Oda has allegedly said in the past. There's an interview, right, from like the Great One Piece magazine or something, allegedly. I tried to find like an article or something, like detailing what was actually said, and the closest I could find was a Reddit thread with a whole bunch of stuff. And then separately from that, a One Piece podcast article detailing some of those things that were in the Reddit thread, but not this bit I'm about to tell you about. So I don't know. I can't say for 100% certain that Oda actually said this, but here we go.
Okay.
Supposedly, in that interview, Oda said something to the effect of, I'm not quite sure yet how Luffy's going to take down an opponent as strong as Kaido. I don't think that the readers would be satisfied if the reason he could take him down was simply because his punch was so strong. I guess Luffy and I will have to figure something out together. This was in 2016 that he said this, supposedly. Well, and yet, here we are.
I mean, here's the thing. It's not just strong, it's big.
I suppose that's true, but in Luffy's case, big equals strong. That's the way Gear Third works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some pretty serious hockey on there too, but like, even then, it's still just making the punch stronger.
So, that combined with how savage of a beating that Luffy was taking throughout the entire rest of this chapter make me think that this is perhaps yet another fake out victory. But I don't know. Maybe this is really the end. Maybe Oda simply changed his mind and decided, you know what? Luffy's punches are big, but I can go bigger. And that's what he did.
Maybe Luffy's just using this as a way to motivate Momo more seriously, but that feels like thinking too far forward for Luffy.
Yeah. Plus, like, Kaido's in his big form right now. You know?
Mm-hmm.
He's been known to tank hits in that form. I guess he's slower, but except for that one time that he wasn't. But I see no reason why he can't just turn back into his smaller form and just like, well, if he's planning on punching through the island, he doesn't have anywhere to go, I guess.
No, and he's still holding on. Like, Luffy's got
the
him.
island is in theory gonna move. Yeah, you're right. He is grabbed.
Yeah,
that's a good point. So yeah, Kaido confirmed dead. Next chapter, I guess. And probably everyone on Onigashima too. So
I feel like it would just be smarter to like grab Kaido with the big fist and fling him into space.
Yeah, or like use the hand that, or just like move your fist, man. Take the fist that is currently above Onigashima and Kaido, move it to the side, and punch sideways instead.
Again, that's thinking too far forward for Luffy.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe, like you said, this is in parts just trying to motivate Momonosuke into getting his act together and doing what he's supposed to be doing for 10 chapters.
It feels kind of out of character, though. Like, unless Luffy's really trying to take this sort of big brother role to Momo, which might feel a little weird because now Momo's kind of older than him, but also not.
Kind of.
It's a weird situation, and I'm dying to see what happens next.
For sure. I'm still kind of in the camp that this is a fake out, but
I think I would like it better if it was, yeah.
For sure. But we'll find out in 2 weeks. There is a break next week. It's not an Oda break. It's a Shonen Jump Golden Week holiday break. So there's a very good chance that the fan translations and the spoilers will be out way early this time. So be wary of that, those of you who traverse the internet. Next chapter releases May 8th officially. And that takes us into the reread.
It's from Luffy knocking people unconscious to being knocked unconscious himself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He was unconscious for like half of this, it feels like.
For sure.
He's still unconscious at the end,
yeah.
So still counts.
Thank you.
Full credit.
So, let's see. There's like, a few big things that happen in these 10 chapters or so.
Is that right?
Yeah. First and foremost, Garp further proves that he's the best, which should surprise no one, but still makes me happy.
Yes. I'm a big fan of this bit. It's one of my favorite parts of this arc.
Yeah. The build up to it does take some time, and it takes a lot of people to even get Luffy to the point where Garp has to interfere. And then he makes this huge entrance where it feels so daunting, and he plays it up so well.
Yeah, Garp could have simply walked down the ramp.
Yeah,
he was on
totally
the execution platform, but he chooses big jump to slam down right in front of Luffy.
Mm-hmm.
Good old Garp.
He's quite the actor, and I'm always here for it.
Quite so.
So soon after that, Ace is freed, and we get some pretty dope stuff. I love pretty much every panel with Luffy and Ace here. They're all just, they're bangers. Like, the chemistry is immediately apparent, both in, like, you know, the moves that they're doing and their banter. The choreography is sweet. The layouts are fantastic. Like, it's really good. Really good fight for it. It's not even that long. It's like a few pages, but it hits hard.
These two, back in the day, were quite used to fighting as a squad, you know. But it's been a few years since then. But it's once they finally reunite and they're back on the same side, it's like they didn't miss a step. They're right back into it as though no time has passed. And that just attests to the strength of their bond.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
Even though they've both grown so much in the number of years it's been, like, yeah, they fall right back in and adapt really quickly. It's awesome.
And Ace didn't even have his fruit powers the last time they, like, fought together.
Yeah.
So it's not like a matter of practice, you know, it's just they know each other so well that they fight well together, regardless of, like, how well they know the other's moves specifically.
Right. And they know themselves. Like, they're both very good with their powers, so definitely a dangerous duo.
Quite so.
It's almost a shame that Oda pushes the high so high before an extreme low later.
Oh, yes.
Which is really the next thing that I'd like to talk about. Mostly because, well, okay, so, like, yeah, Ace dies to Akainu punching a magma fist through him, sure. But
spoilers.
Yeah, oops. But really what Ace falls to is an emotional attack, which Akainu's been doing more and more. So, like, it kind of shows his intelligence. I don't know how, like, you know, book smart the man is, but he can at least read people pretty well and knows how to get them to react in the ways that he wants them to.
You trying to tell me that you didn't read the SBS where it's revealed that Akainu has a doctorate in pirate murder?
I mean, I think he has the experience equivalent type deal for sure, like an honorary degree. But yeah, yeah, it's not. I'm not saying that I don't think he believes what he says about Whitebeard being a failure and all that. Like, he probably does genuinely believe that.
That's not why he said it.
Right.
He was trying to goad Ace.
Yeah, just based off of Whitebeard's crew and what he had seen from Ace and Luffy and knowing that they're blood brothers, like, he saw little strings that he could pull and he got what he wanted. Like, it sucks, but it's also, like, it's what makes Akainu really all the more terrifying.
And even before, when he was trying to play similar games with Squard, I don't think he actually thought that Squard was going to take out Whitebeard, you know. But the idea was to sow seeds of discord within the affiliate crews. And it almost worked, but, you know, Whitebeard's got big dad energy and reins it back in a big way.
He sure does. Yeah, he has quite a few touching moments, that Whitebeard man.
Ace's final words being, "Thank you for loving me," hits hard even now.
Oh, yeah.
I've reread this many times over the years and seen it many times in the anime, but gives me chills every single time.
Right. I mean, especially right after getting the flashback of, like, him wondering if it would be better if he was just not born. Fuck, man. Makes perfect sense for him to end up with Whitebeard and to care so much. I totally get that. Found family is just fantastic to read about. I love it.
Quite so.
And I also love that Luffy gets to both embrace and support his brother in his final moments. Like, he accomplishes his task, which is great, but then, I mean, it's all removed. It's all taken away from him. But still, in the end, he gets that touching moment. And that, I mean, it means a lot to me. He needed something there.
Quite. I've never been a huge fan of Ace himself. I like him. He's cool. But not like one of my favorite characters. But this scene still hurts, not so much because of the death itself for me, but Luffy's reaction. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I care so much because Luffy cares, and it hurts him so badly. Like you said, they basically got what they wanted. They showed up, they rescued Ace, but 2 chapters later, everything that they've worked towards for the last, 50 chapters, however long this Impel Down thing has been going on, taken away from him right in front of his eyes.
In one move, too. Like, oof.
Poor Luffy.
It takes him to a point that, like, both Jinbei and Eva seem terrified that this, like, emotional damage is going to kill Luffy because it's piled on top of his physical exhaustion.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Poor guy. Breaks down, remains unconscious for the rest of this chunk and beyond. Godspeed, Luffy. See you on the other side.
He'll be fine. So, sadly, Blackbeard shows up, and this is... I mean, he gives Whitebeard an end that is not quite as touching as Ace's. Whitebeard does, like, he gets a few flashbacks and some thoughts on his life, right? Like, he thinks of his rival / friend, Mr. Roger. And
Dr. Roger.
You can't prove that. And he also thinks of, like, his origins, well, maybe not origins, but his earlier days as a pirate. So he does get some sweet bits, sure. But he is still forced to fight and be taken out by someone that he once genuinely loved. Like,
thought of him as a son.
Yeah, that sucks. Like, I think it's fascinating that Whitebeard was betrayed by his trust twice. I get that there was no way for him to, like, know in either situation that these people would turn on him. And, I mean, Blackbeard didn't technically turn on him. He did in the end, but there was beef well before that. But for a man in charge of such a powerful crew where love and trust is everything, which kind of mirrors Luffy's own crew, for him to be taken down by someone who had that trust and broke it is interesting to me. Like, the message that Oda is ultimately sending here is that no matter how much you love and trust a group of people, there's still a chance that someone will take advantage of that and stab you in the back. And that's weird.
Yeah, that is a bit of a strange... I mean, I was going to say it's a bit of a strange takeaway, but that implies that you're in the wrong, and that can't be right.
I mean, it totally could be. I don't... Maybe I'm taking that in a weird way, but, like, the two big times that... I mean, obviously Whitebeard was old and sick and tired and all of this. Like, he even says to Squard, like, oh, you thought that attack would kill me? Like, get out of here. But
silly Squard.
Yeah. But it still caused so much to happen. Like, it was a catalyst, even if it didn't do mortal damage to him. And then besides that, Blackbeard does do mortal damage. So, like...
That he does.
And then some. Like, he well, we don't know what he does necessarily, but he effectively, like, desecrates the body in some way, or he pulls out a tree from his body and it has a fruit on it. I don't freaking know. But...
Yeah. I'll have words on that in the hot second.
Right, yeah. Please go on.
I would imagine that Blackbeard specifically being the one to take Whitebeard out It's probably especially hard on Whitebeard because Blackbeard isn't like one of the oldest members of his crew or anything, but he joined as a child. So Whitebeard, in essence, raised this guy to adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Then to have him be the one to take him out would be like if Buggy was the one to kill Roger in the end.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't definitively say that Buggy didn't do that, but it's not the way I understand it currently.
Yeah, he could have disguised himself like Mr. 3 did, sure.
Mm-hmm. I also think it's interesting that we see like the 4 like big new members of Blackbeard's crew that just joined him from Impel Down.
Mm.
And to this day, we know almost nothing about any of them. We know their names, and we know their like titles, but aside from Katarina Devon having the Kitsune fruit, don't know a dang thing about any of the others.
One of them's really big, and one of them likes to drink a lot.
Yep. Those are literally parts of their name, but that is true, for sure.
Yeah, I guess
we could have made the guess that Crescent Moon Hunter Katarina Devon equals Dog Fruit Model Kitsune. Obviously.
Yeah, that's on us.
Yeah. But Avalo Pizarro, the Corrupt King, got horns.
What's going on there?
Yeah. Is he an Oni race like Kaido? Confirmed. Yes. It's canon. Even Shiryu, right, who is already more of a character than those other guys.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten more on since then, since we know he has the invisibility fruit now.
Oh, that's true.
Time's running out, Oda. Gotta explain those guys eventually.
Yeah. The entirety of Blackbeard's crew is somewhat of an enigma to me. Like, I know they're scary. I know I don't like them. I know the general gist of the members, but like, one of them just looks like a wrestler. What's up with that?
That's everything you gotta know about Jesus Burgess.
Right? Like, great. I'm willing to accept that, but I would like some more.
Before we move on from Blackbeard's crew real quick, I would like to air a brief grievance.
Go for it.
People like to talk smack on Jesus Burgess and Whitebeard's crew just in general.
Wait, Whitebeard's?
Because, yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Gotcha twice, man.
Blackbeard's crew specifically. Because of how big of a thrashing Burgess got on Dressrosa from Sabo, right? Especially since Burgess is like the leader of the number 1 squad of Blackbeard's crew, or one of the higher tier ones.
Mm-hmm.
So people are having a hard time. I don't think this is the common opinion, but I have seen this around. Having a hard time wrapping their heads around how these guys are probably like the end game opponents for the Straw Hats, you know? But what I don't understand is why people have such a hard time wrapping their heads around the idea that other characters aside from the Straw Hats can also get stronger in arcs.
That's not allowed. What are you talking
think
about?
They're literally just hanging out, eating pizza all day or something, and
yeah,
not
look
doing anything?
at Crocodile. He's obviously the same as he was back in Alabasta.
Clearly, and that guy got a massive power boost for hanging out in jail. The Blackbeard pirates are literally seeking power.
Yeah.
Powers. They're hunting down devil fruit abilities.
Blackbeard is not going to pick some chump. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's got plans, and we can't even imagine what they are. So
yeah, it's got plans on top of his plans, and that's the way he's lived his life for 40 years, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's not the common opinion, I'm sure, but I've seen that one around, and it's got me cheesed off about it. Shame on you, whoever said that in the Reddit thread that one time.
Also, Sabo is, like, confirmed pretty dang buff, so...
Yeah, Sabo's strong.
Yeah. Like, what are they talking about? Come on.
Oh boy.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
a whole batch of who beans from me, sir.
Yeah. The crop was hearty this year.
Indeed. How do you think Blackbeard stole Whitebeard's power?
Well, like I said earlier, maybe he just pulled out a tree and it had some fruit in it, but I don't see why he would need complete darkness in that situation.
He just didn't want to reveal his trade secrets, that's all.
Yeah, obviously. And I also don't see how that helps him actually have the fruit. Like, Marco points out, oh, his body's weird.
And he says it like it's common knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at least on the Whitebeard pirates. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, as we all know, he's got a weird body. What the heck does that mean, Marco?
Yeah, be more vague, please.
Indeed. But you're right. It does kind of seem like the reason, like the method he uses to steal powers and the reason that he can have more than one at one time are separate issues.
Yeah.
And that one you said, we're like, oh, maybe he just like pulled out a fruit, like an apple or something, and it just became the quake fruit. That's a popular theory. I can get behind that. But one that I think is less likely, but more fun that I've seen around, is the theory that Blackbeard, similarly to Crocodile, has a natural enemy that weakens him. Like how Crocodile can't turn to sand when he's touched by water. What if Blackbeard can't fully turn in the darkness while he's being touched by light?
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that to me in the past, but how does that help him? Like, how does that...
I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
I'll get to that immediately. So, when the light is touching him, right, he can't fully transform the darkness, and thus can't use the full extent of his powers. Thus, when the black sheet is thrown over him to block out the light, he can fully absorb or fully turn the darkness and use his power of gravity, stated to be able to suck in anything, to simply draw out the devil within Whitebeard's fruit into his own body. This also explains why he can't turn his body into darkness like a normal Lodia under ordinary conditions.
Right. Yeah, I think that's actually where you brought it up before. And I like that a lot. So that checks out. I'm trying to sit here and wrap my head around the darkness pulling out the devil in the fruit. Like, well, I guess he could just, could he just pull it out of someone then? Like, why does...
I don't think they have to be dead for him to do this, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
But doing it to Whitebeard under ordinary circumstances, probably pretty rough.
Right. So you're saying if it was some Joe Schmo that just had a devil fruit, he could probably,
just
under complete darkness, just kind of take it from him. But in Whitebeard's case, he probably did have a fruit on him, and then, but he... Yeah, I guess he probably wouldn't want people to even know about the whole fruit thing.
That doesn't seem to be common knowledge.
Yeah.
We haven't even been outright told that in the story. We just saw it happen the one time. So,
right.
I would imagine. I mean, probably even the world government doesn't know that for sure. Otherwise, they would probably have gotten the Gomu Gomu fruit centuries ago.
Yeah, right? Like, that would feel easy enough.
It's all very suspicious, but I think the most likely explanation is the fruit idea, as opposed to the darkness being weakened by light thing. But
both work for me, so...
It's also a little weird, something I just remembered, because... back in that Sabo versus Jesus Burgess fight, there's a bit where Burgess is leaping at Sabo with a knife, and he's like, "I'm gonna steal your power," or something like that, leading people to believe that it's a special knife that Blackbeard has, and that they lent to Burgess to be able to steal the fire fruit if need be. I hate that idea because I don't understand how that works.
Yeah,
but...
what? Like, there's been no talk of a special, metal alloy that when it touches someone, it sucks the devil right out. Like, what?
Yeah, not sure how that works, but Burgess had a method, it seems, on Dressrosa. But maybe he just, maybe the plan was simply to kill Sabo. And he had an apple in his pocket, and bam, boom, done deal.
Yeah,
but
I gotta say, if I was in the One Piece world, I'd have fruit on me everywhere I went.
Yeah, if you live in the New World, always carry at least a few apples on you, just in case.
Not apples. You gotta be careful with those, otherwise doctors won't be able to fix you up.
When you're right, you're right.
So that's enough on Blackbeard. Yeah.
Forever. I'm sure he'll never show back up.
Yes. The only other things that I really have are, in this chunk, Jinbei has continued to grow on me, which is nice. He goes toe to toe with Akainu on multiple occasions. He had a hole burned completely through him, gets launched in the air by a sand tornado, and still holds on to Luffy throughout all of that, just because he's decided it's the right thing to do,
and because he covered his hands in sticky sap before coming here.
Yeah, for a shark, it could probably happen.
Excellent forethought on Jinbei's part.
So maybe I'm just getting old, or maybe Jinbei's another solidly written character. Who can say?
And he's blue.
Yes, that always helps.
Indeed. Big appeals for you.
And then, in the end, Kobe gets to somewhat redeem himself, and Shank shows up. I guess he just happens to need that extra, 3 seconds that Kobe bought him.
I suppose so, but it's a shonen manga. People, especially people as important as Shank, are going to show up at the most dramatic time. So that's just kind of how these things work.
For sure. I guess I didn't quite understand why he couldn't have been there earlier. He definitely would have known that this was happening.
Well, that's explained. I don't think it's explained yet, but we find out at some point that Kaido also wanted in on this war, and Shanks went to hold him off.
I do remember that. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Never mind.
You're off the hook this time, Shanks, but we still got our eye on you.
Yeah. Always going through that man with a fine-tooth comb.
Indeed.
That's all I got here.
Okay. I think we covered all my stuff too. I only had 2 funny bits this time, which I think is more than I've had in total for the last few. And one of them is pretty much the same as it was. The people of the world, right, waiting with bated breath for the video feed to resume. And then finally, in the climax of this battle, it finally does. But it's Buddy again. Surprise, Buddy the Clown here to entertain the masses with his incompetence.
Just a classic. Hey everyone, Buggy here. Love those.
Indeed.
Let's see. There's a panel that's just a close-up of Whitebeard's face, and the angle is such a way, and his mustache is such a way, that Oda threw in a speech bubble that just says "grin" to make sure you know what's going on under there.
For sure. That's when Ace gets released, right? That page.
No. I want to say that that's actually later when he's dying almost.
Oh, I see.
When he's being just, pelted with attacks, he turns and is like, haha, the new age will be okay.
Well, isn't that just classic Whitebeard, right?
Yes, it is.
Half a face, but still going strong. And my only other one is, this wasn't like meant to be funny, as far as I can tell, but I'm deeply amused that Inazuma was just riding inside of Ankao's hair all this time.
Yeah, with a glass of wine, not a drop spilled.
Oh yeah, very comfy in there, I guess.
There's a lot of hair, so like, yeah.
Make yourself cozy. I imagine that like half of Newkama Island, or the Newkama level 6.6, whatever it's called, populace could probably fit in there.
In a pinch, for sure.
Indeed.
I have another, and it is that the cover of 578 has the crew all laying down and, doing some cloud watching or some such, with many birds around them. And unfortunately for Zoro, one of them lands with 1 foot on each of his eyes.
And people wonder how he lost his eye during the time skip.
The man's just careless.
Indeed. Oh, man. Poor Zoro. I wish you the best, but I'm also deeply amused by your pain.
Oh, boy. A good end.
Indeed. Guess that pretty much wraps up all the silliness of the hour. Next week, or rather whenever the next episode comes out, we'll be covering chapters 580 through 590. So look forward to that. Like I said before, there is a break next week to the Golden Week. The next chapter releases on May 8th. Be wary of spoilers between then and now. It'll be a nightmare out there. Feel free to send your thoughts on this new chapter in via email to inheritedwillpodcasts@gmail.com, on Twitter to @inherited_will, or in comment on the platform of your choosing. I'm especially interested in knowing if you actually think if this fight's about to end imminently with Big Punch or not. Let us know.
Yeah, we can't figure it out. Maybe you can.
Indeed, our brains are simply too small. But, as always, thanks for listening.
Bye.